Hello everyone, Morgan here. I'm CBDC Blue Water's content creator, back with another webinar recap. Our final webinar in our social media series is on content creation. Getting started with social media for your small business is no small task. In order for your online presence to pay off, you'll have to do a lot of research and planning. This is the final video in our introductory series for social media for small business. I encourage you to check out our other videos, which break down major platforms, introduce you to branding resources, and explain the process of creating a content strategy. These prior videos supplement some of the things I'm talking about today. If you've watched our other videos, you've probably heard us repeatedly say that social media can be an excellent way to attract and interact with clients. But once you've done all the work deciding who you are going to market to, building your brand, and planning the content, the only thing left to do is post. This can be one of the more challenging parts of social media, and the thing that will take up a lot of your time. But building strong content is essential to reaching more clients. I can't tell you specifically what you should make, because it will be different for every business. Chances are, a step-by-step tutorial will already exist to help you build specific types of content, be it vector graphics, animations, video, or certain photography editing styles. Today, what I really want to look at is resources you can use to assist with your content creation. I'm going to talk about copyright, sourcing content online, and some tips on how to take better photos. Before we get started, I wanted to very briefly talk about copyright. I'm not an expert by any means. Do not take anything I say as legal advice. Take what I say here as a starting point for your own research into copyright law and sourcing content. The important thing to keep in mind is that if you are unsure about whether or not you should use something, contact the author and ask for permission. If you can't contact them, then look for content elsewhere. Everything that is created by someone falls under copyright. Logos, art, music, photography all have authors, and those authors own whatever they create. When someone sells their art for commercial use, they are not selling ownership. Instead, you are buying the permission to use the piece of work in whatever way is agreed upon when the transaction is made. If you are purchasing a cover photo for your Facebook page from a photographer, you may have a contract that says you can use the photo in your printed promotional material and anywhere online to advertise your business. However, if someone were to come to you and ask to purchase the photograph from you for their own personal use, you would not have the right to sell the photo to them. Likewise, they would not have permission to use that photo, because it belongs to the author, and that author gave permission to you specifically to use it for your business. So what does this mean? The important thing to pull from this concept is that you cannot just go onto someone's social media or onto Google and take the first image to use to promote your business. This includes drawings, graphics, logos, music videos, and other media. Legally, you are not allowed to use it unless you have the creator's permission, or you have bought the rights to something to be used commercially, meaning it is related to your business. Using someone's content without permission could technically get you into legal trouble, but more likely, especially in a province as small as Nova Scotia, it is really bad optics for your business. Someone who knows the creator could see the photo being misused, and not only tell the creator, but tell the community about it, and it is stealing, so you have to be careful. With all of that said, I'd like to talk about what you do need to know to create content. Well, that is dependent on what your content strategy is. Here, I have a list of some of the skills that may serve you in your journey to create engaging content. Trying to learn every skill to an ability that will serve your business could take years, and even then, the time spent developing these skills may be better spent running your business or actually creating your content. Part of developing these skills comes with putting them into practice, so don't get too hung up on doing everything perfect to start. In addition to building a strategy that serves your business, you have to serve yourself and what you can manage. So focus on what interests you the most and start there. If you've always wanted to be a photographer, use that energy in your content. If you love to draw, maybe you can work illustrations into your branding. If none of this sounds fun at all, and you feel like creating content and posting on social media is just taking you away from your business, It could be worth it to hire someone to do it for you. These are all things to consider before you get started. So where to start? You've got a strategy and some plans for what you want to post. How do you communicate your message visually? Opening up a blank page on whatever software you are using and playing around until it looks good is one way to waste a lot of your own time. You should always start with finding inspiration. In fact, part of creating your content should be looking at posts and advertising material from as many sources as possible, and then saving elements that fit within your branding. Emulating elements of posts you like is better than always trying to come up with ideas yourself. I'm not saying copy, and you should never try to make something look exactly the same as a piece of inspiration, but combine elements of good design to create something new. In addition to spending time on the platforms where you are posting, try looking at partners and competitors and the companies that you admire. The websites shown here are great places to find inspiration as well. Pinterest has a lot of art, workouts, and recipes, but if you use the search bar to search for specific projects, like, say, a Facebook cover page, you will be shown examples and templates that you can save to collections and reference when you are out of design ideas. Or perhaps purchase these templates to use with your own branding material. Behance and Dribbble are networking sites for creatives where illustrators, designers, and photographers post their work, so it is easy to find social media content inspiration on these sites. I'd like to mention Giphy very briefly because it is linked directly to Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. While I don't recommend using it super frequently, it is a form of content that can be used in clever ways to help you connect with your ideal client. By implementing GIFs as reaction or playing on pop culture references that your audience would likely enjoy, you can help people build relationships with you and your business. Sometimes a GIF will say exactly what you are trying to say. A lot of GIFs use movement as well, which is great at drawing people's attention and making them pause for a moment longer. I wouldn't recommend overusing them on Facebook, and never use them on LinkedIn, especially if your business has a very serious and professional brand. But they are used more freely on Instagram stories or on Twitter. Photography is an important component of a lot of content creation. When possible, you should always try and take your own photos. While it is nice to have a dedicated DSLR camera for business photos, it is not necessary. Most smartphones will be able to take quality photos for you. It is less about your gear and more about the skills you bring to the table. So here are a couple of tips to help you get started. Lighting is one of the most important things to consider. If you are just starting out, I recommend shooting in natural light whenever possible. If you try and take your photos inside, under an overhead light or lamp, you may notice they look blurry or too orange or too blue. This is a product of artificial light sources. Natural lighting will give you sharper images with a better white balance, and in order to help you control some of the elements that will influence the quality of your photo, I recommend taking your picture outside whenever possible, or simply shooting it in front of a window. The best conditions for getting quality photographs is on a bright day where the light of the sun is diffused by clouds, or a sunny day but taken in a shaded area. If you try and take photos in direct sunlight, you will find that the shadows on and around your subject will be a lot harsher than if you removed the subject from direct sun. I also recommend being careful to ensure that whatever your subject is, product or person, to make sure that they are facing the light source, whether that is a window or the sun. If the light source is behind your subject and facing you, they will appear a lot darker than the background in the photo. This is great if you want to create a silhouette of your subject, but typically you will want to keep people focused on the subject, and them facing a light source is an easy way to ensure that they are the first thing people view. Keep your photograph clean. What I mean by this is remove anything from the photo that is not the subject of the photo. Watch out for hidden logos from different brands on water bottles or wrappers or tote bags. They are distracting and can be confusing for the viewers. Mind wires or objects in the background. Take photos against a simple backdrop like a wall or a scene that has little movement. Next, I also want to very briefly mention the rule of thirds. It is a type of composition talked about in photography and art. In this rule, the photographic frame is broken into even sections by 3 horizontal and 3 vertical lines, as seen in the photo of the dog in the top corner of this video. The theory is that the places where these lines intersect are the points of interest where people's eyes naturally fall when they view a photo. Images that have their subject on these intersection points appear more aesthetically pleasing. You can also use the grid blocks created by the lines to form your photograph, perhaps keeping a horizon line along the top third of the photo, or isolating your subjects so that they cover the height of the photo but only appear in the grid blocks furthest to the right. This rule is definitely one that was made to be broken. There are many other theories and grids used in the study of composition, but knowing this rule will force you to consider how a viewer might read your photo and what the most important subject is in the photo. You have probably seen flat lays before. Sometimes they are called lay flats or overhead shots. They are a very popular style of content, especially on visual platforms like Instagram. They are great for showcasing products or lifestyle narratives that speak to your target market. For example, if you look to the bottom corner of the video and see the image with the rolled yoga mat, bra, leggings, and sneakers, you can almost imagine the type of person who would wear or use all of these items. Additionally, if a business posted this photo, most of us would instantly assume the company was related to fitness classes, exercise, gyms, or some kind of training. Overhead shots are a great way to dress up text posts. As you can see in the photo with the art supplies, there is a blank space in the middle of the photo, creating a perfect box to later insert text. Knolling is another style of lay flat which incorporates a bunch of small pieces related to each other in some way, like with the photo of the deconstructed drill. The parts are placed together in a tightly organized way to create a dynamic image which viewers are likely to spend a lot of time with. While I don't recommend taking apart your work tools, if you are working on a project that has many small moving parts, this style of photography may be a great way to showcase what you are working on with your clients. For taking portraits of people, I recommend the tips we discussed earlier, but there are a couple of other things to keep in mind. One image I see often on business accounts is the image of a group of people attending an event, posed and huddled together in a group smiling. The event is happening in the background and the photo is framed by centering the group. I can see everyone's whole body in the shot. There is nothing wrong with this style of photo, but it is super popular, and unless you know the people in the photo personally, you probably wouldn't give it much thought. You should still always take these photos of yourself and your staff, but also consider what you can do to the photo that makes it stand out and appear more dynamic. A lot of times there is one really easy way to improve your portraits, which is simply to take a few steps closer to your subject. Who is in the photo is more important than the shoes they are wearing, so it is not always necessary to capture your whole subject. A viewer will always meet the eyes of the people in the portrait first, so make it as easy as possible for them. When you are taking photos of people, there are some typical places to end the photo. Try not to cut people off at their joints. Allowing the frame to end at their shoulders, waists, or mid-thighs will make people feel like they are still getting the whole picture. If you take a photo in which the subject's hands are out of the frame or just their feet, the image will appear incomplete. Try to get into the habit of taking less posed and more candid shots. As a small business owner, people are likely invested personally in your work and your success. Giving them an open look into what you do can be great for building relationships in online spaces. Photos that are not superposed often feel more genuine and people will connect with them. Plus, chances are your target audience is curious about what your products or services actually look like. The more insight you give them, the better. Like I said before, I will always recommend taking your own photos when you can. However, if you cannot take your own pictures, there are free stock photography websites. Unsplash, Pexels, and Pixabay are probably the most popular of these sites. On these sites, you are free to use the photos for personal and commercial purposes. Often they do not require you to credit the author, though I will always recommend that you do. Check these sites out if you need imagery to help you with your content development. Here are a few more tips to help you elevate your photography. Having Bristol board tiles, textured paper, or multiple tables to take photos on can help you either keep every photo consistent or change things up constantly. White and black Bristol board can be held up and used to reflect light or shadow onto a subject, giving you more control over the light in your photos and a more dynamic picture. If you are taking a portrait beside a window and the subject is lit from the side, you will notice that they have a lot of shadow on the side of their face that is furthest from the window. White foam board or Bristol board can be held in front of a shadowy side of their face to manage the light. Try and make a habit of taking pictures, even when you do not intend on posting them. You never know what will come up, and maybe last week's behind-the-scenes shot will be exactly what you need for this week's post. If you are taking photos with your phone, you can edit them right on your device. The Lightroom mobile app is free, and I highly recommend it. There are also other editing softwares, so download a few apps and see what works best for you. So what's next, and where can you build your skills and find more specific tutorials? LinkedIn Learning is one of my favorites. Formerly known as lynda.com, you can access LinkedIn Learning for free by logging on to Halifax Library's website and signing up for an account using your library card number and PIN. They have tens of thousands of courses on all things business. If you are looking to learn how to use a specific program for content creation, take a photography course, learn general marketing, accounting, or finance, it's all there. Udemy and Skillshare are paid services, but can be very valuable and sometimes inexpensive. A subscription to Skillshare gives you access to thousands of courses on a variety of topics, and Udemy has one-off course purchases available. Right here on YouTube, you can find free tutorials and courses for almost any subject you need. And there are, of course, constantly local programs and training in HRM offered to small business owners. If you want to find out more about some of these local training opportunities, I recommend you follow our social media pages. CBDC Blue Water has accounts on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and we take pride in sharing as many resources as we can. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope this video helps you get started on creating content for your social media pages.